for quite a while. I actually was going to do this a long time ago, but after I wound up selling my, Glock collection, I guess you could say, and I wound up getting the compact, I didn't have another Glock 19. Eventually, I did get another Gen 5, or at least a Gen 5, and then ultimately I wound up trading that in for the MOS. So obviously, there are going to be some significant differences between the two, but overall, the similarities are quite startling. And I know there's probably been videos of this already online, and that's fine. But I wanted to give my 2 cents in regards to both these fantastic shooting, amazing 9mm. Obviously, I think there are some really good differences and a lot of really good similarities between the two. Now, obviously, I think also that when a lot of people think of a 9mm compact handgun that's extremely popular, I think automatically people will go to the Glock 19. The Gen 5 19, in this case the MOS, in my opinion, has been the best Glock they've made. Obviously, the 19X is also fantastic, but in regards to just being the size of the 19, I think Glock really hit a home run in regards to this particular model. Everything out of the box is an improvement, whether it's the barrel. The stock trigger was very good, comparatively speaking to Gen 4s that I owned. And overall, once they got rid of those finger grooves, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that it really did improve the ergonomics. But there are some differences between the ergonomics on the 19 and obviously the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact. That's a lot of words. Now, in regards to the 2.0 compact, the first one I got was actually the full size. Fantastic handgun. But I really just preferred the compact size. Obviously, it kind of is that right in the middle of the perfect sized handgun, at least in my opinion. Yes, it's a double stack. Yes, it's a little bit chunky, I guess, even though I don't really necessarily believe that. I think the size of the M&P 2.0 compact is just absolutely perfect. And finally, when they came out with it, they really did design it after the 19 in regards to the size. Now, obviously, the ergonomics are going to be slightly different between the two. And there are some small differences between the comfort of the grip and when it goes into my hand. I mean, obviously, this shoots very well. It's very accurate pistol, especially with the red dot on there. But I do think that, in my opinion, the 2.0 compact has a slight advantage in regards to the ergonomics, not necessarily because it's such a difference in the grip angle or anything like that, but just from the size of the grip. And what I'll do is I'll show you what I'm talking about. And let's see if I can get this on camera here good enough for you. But if you look at the Glock is notoriously a blocky gun. What that basically means is that a lot of people compare it to holding a 2x4 in your hand. Now, when they remove the finger grooves, I actually think the ergonomics improved. It does feel a little bit more, and I say this very loosely, it feels a little bit more round. And I know that's hard to say because the Glock is usually a very blocky handgun. But for whatever reason, when I did put this in my hand, it feels like they've actually made it a little bit more ergonomically friendly. So in other words, a little bit rounder in the grip. Now, again, is it super round where you're going to notice a significant difference? Probably not. I think it's still a blocky gun, but it is manageable in the hand, at least in my opinion. Again, with the 2.0, even though grip-wise, it appears to be a little bit thinner. Again, it's going to be based upon the back straps that you put on here, but I really do think the grip is slightly thinner than the Glock 19. And more importantly, on this grip right here, what you're going to find is that it is rounder in the hand than, let's say, the Glock 19 is. So I think that gives it sort of the advantage in regards to ergonomics. Also, I think if you were going to compare the two to find out which one you liked more, you really have to think about what are some of the advantages of both. In regards to the Glock, you're going to get an incredible amount of aftermarket parts. Obviously, the Gen 5 is slightly different from the Gen 4s and the 3s and so on and so forth, but the aftermarket has definitely improved over time for the Gen 5s. Obviously, I have the Apex trigger on here. You can get back plates if you want and all this other stuff, but, sights are available. So ultimately, I still think this has the edge. But to say that, you'd also have to think about the M&P 2.0 compact having a pretty solid aftermarket as well. It's not a slouch in that area either. So if you want to get a trigger job, you can. Obviously, I have the Apex on this as well. You can get extensions for your mag releases, base plates, back plates, you name it, sights. So basically, right now, I think it's about a neck and neck tie between the two handguns. In regards to how do they shoot, the Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS is a great shooting handgun, but it doesn't really feel any different than any other Glock when you're shooting it. Obviously, if you don't really like the angle of the Glock, you're going to have to kind of tweak your wrist a little bit. But I don't think it's an unnatural feel. Obviously, they give you those front serrations, so the gun overall looks better. And does it shoot better? You know, I didn't really see a significant improvement, although, you know, I didn't have a Gen 4 to test with it. But after shooting Gen 4s for quite a while and now having the Gen 5, I don't see a major significant improvement. But again, that may not be the gun. It might be this guy right here. In regards to the 2.0, I think this is where this gun shines. The 2.0, whether it's the full size or the compact, this is a fantastic shooting handgun. And I think the advantage actually will go to this 2.0 for one simple reason. When they designed the gun, what they decided to do is they decided to put this little metal insert here in front in the frame here, or the lower. And when they did that, what that was meant to do was try to, you know, I guess mitigate muzzle rise, although there's not going to be a tremendous amount because it is a 9. But does it do that job? And I'm going to say it does. This gun is extremely easy to shoot. Even just holding both guns in my hand, you can definitely tell there's a weight difference between the two. You don't necessarily feel it in the grips. Where you feel it is actually in that front end where that muzzle is. And I think that's extremely important, especially if you want to get faster shots on target. So while this is a great shooting handgun, don't get me wrong, I love it. I still think the compact has an edge over it. In regards to size, as you saw in the beginning of the video, I tried to do the best job I could when comparing the size of the two. And again, this was, I think, a very smart move for Smith & Wesson, because if you look at both handguns, and this is laying on top of the 2.0 compact, they are identical in size. So to me, the 19 has always been a very ideal size for carry, for the simple fact that it is big enough to be able to get a full grip on, but at the same time, it's also small enough to conceal fairly well. And I think that's where, in my opinion, it's kind of the sweet spot of handguns. Now, I know there are a lot of people who like the small guns to conceal deeper, people who like the full-size guns to get even a bigger grip. But I just think the 19-sized handgun is kind of the perfect sweet spot for all handguns. And I think when the 2.0 compact was created, they hit that right on the money. Now, obviously, people would say, well, what about the P10C? Well, the P10 is bigger than both. I mean, is it a significant difference in size? Just to kind of give you an idea of both, and I'll show that to you, which I'm sure many of you have seen. Let's see. So basically what you have here is about half my, my thumbnail. That's actually underneath the CZ. So you're really getting a very, not necessarily a significant size difference between the two, but I'll show you on this side, so maybe you can see a little bit better, even though it'll be upside down. But you're seeing right there, that's the difference between the grip on the 19 and the P10C. So it's not a significant increase, but it is still enough to know that, you know, while this grip is very good and it's very concealable, I think these two right now, I think are the best choices if you want to get something that's a little bit smaller. You can still get a very good grip on it, and they're still very shootable handguns. Now, obviously, I think, or at least I hope, many manufacturers are going to keep going to these sized handguns. I know there's a big push to getting the single stacks smaller and smaller. But as you've seen lately with the 19X, with the Glock 43X, and now the 48, it seems like these are still kind of the sweet spots of size for handguns. And I'd like to see that continue, because for me, as a concealed carry person, also as a shooter, I would think that, to me, that's the best size available for most gun owners. Now, overall, again, both magazines are full, but they're both empty, so don't freak out. Overall, in regards to triggers, you know, keep in mind this is the Apex, so it's a little bit different. It's not going to be necessarily, you know, up to the stock standard. But again, there's a little bit of take up, and then you get a nice clean break. But that deals with the Apex trigger. You know, I would say it's very similar to the stock. Nice solid reset, and again, there's no real comparison between the two. This trigger with the Apex in it, it's no joke, guys. It is just that damn good. So you get a nice take up right there, nice solid wall, and then a nice break. Reset really quick. Come on, camera. There you go. There's your reset. Right at that wall again, and it breaks. It's just you can't really compare the two. It's apples and oranges. This is a better trigger because you're able to adjust the poundage. But both are actually very good. You know, there's no real complaint. Overall, both solid handguns. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you had to choose between a 19 or a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact, which would you choose? Obviously, I think the biggest difference, I would say, in regards to why this is so much more popular than this, which I think for whatever reason, this has kind of gone by the wayside for a lot of people, is I think where Glock really outshines everybody, no matter what manufacturer, no matter what handgun. I think the reason why Glock outshines everyone else is because whoever they have for marketing is doing a great job. everywhere you go, it's like you would only think Glocks exist, no other handgun, because of the amount of exposure they give their actual products. Smith & Wesson, no offense, you don't do a really good job at that. If you look at a lot of the social media out there, you're going to see Glock this, Glock that, Glock everything. Where you look at the 2.0, maybe once every 2 months, Smith will actually post something. And it's kind of disappointing. I think I've posted more about this gun than they have. And I think that's why the Glock is still reigning slightly more supreme than this 2.0 compact. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. Let me know. Glock 19, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact. Which would you choose? Hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And again, please hit that alert button so that you can get alerted when new videos are dropped. Not sure if somehow that's changed with YouTube, but we'll see. Have a great day, guys. And as always, freedom is never free.